Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Rodney Rieder, and he's going to tell us about his amazing near-death experience. Hi, Rodney.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, it's definitely nice to share the experience once again. Felt compelled to do it, so
Okay.
let me get a little started.
Okay.
Um, this happened back in July 19th of 2017. I was working initially as a um, crew member on board tugboats, but I was put on the shore side of things as a longshoreman while waiting for another hitch. And we were in the process of loading this large barge with these 50-ton steel pilings. And my job as the longshoreman side was to, on the shore side, rig these pilings and to a crane and then help assess the crane as it's picking these big pilings up and swinging them around and then lowering them down this barge. We've been doing this for about a week on this particular barge. But unfortunately, on this day, we were down two additional bodies that we were using. So that afternoon, we had the barge come back up to start being reloaded again, and I rigged the first piling of the day just after lunch, and then we proceeded to bring it over on top of the barge, and the guys called me up to get onto the stack to help lower it down. So again, the stack is right over 4 high. We're starting the fifth row, and these are 4-foot diameter pilings, but they're again 50 feet plus long. They're huge. So we're lowering them this way, climb up the ladder, get up onto the stack, help lower it down. And I proceed to look at my watch, and it's just turning 1 o'clock. I proceed to get on the steel ladder that's attached onto the steel barge, onto this piling stack. And I'm getting on the top rungs, and I'm just starting to get ready to climb down. And if you've ever been at a family gathering or meeting, you've been on the end of a table and someone hits that table and you go out. Well, that's what happened to me. Either another tugboat or a barge struck the barge that I was on, and that steel ladder and I went whoop, pulled to a vertical, and we look around, and then everything started to slow down. We all of a sudden, the ladder and I started to turn, headed downward. And at the same time, I am reaching, scrambling, and just feeling my hands, my gloved hands. I could feel the rust particles on the steel pilings as I'm trying to clamber onto it. It felt like I was doing all this, but I was doing this action. And just again, everything just slowed down. The hearing, all sound went away. But then we just again started to proceed to go down, and I'm at that oh shit moment saying that almost basically out loud, going down about the 45, looking down at the steel floor of that barge, and then I was a pop. I was pulled out of my body. Now I'll go into this further that my body continued down. My body, my face struck the steel ladder of that bar of that struck the steel ladder as it struck the floor of the steel barge. So basically, it was death by traumatic trauma. Later, come to find out that 3/4 of my face would be broken and other injuries I'll go into here shortly. But at that 45 moment, I was pulled out of my body. I didn't hover, stay around. I went right instantly into what people call the void. Total darkness. I was calm, peaceful, no pain, just a simple bliss. It felt like I was a young child going back in the younger years where we go into a sleeping bag and you'd cuddle down below and it'd be nice and warm and comfortable and cozy. And it was just there, just peace. And again, I can't tell you how long I was there for, what period of time, and there was no time. I couldn't see a body, I would nothing else. I was just there. And eventually, all of a sudden, it was like a lightning strike struck, and opened up the terror of night. And I just again directed towards it. And then I must have gone through. But as I came through, I found myself in a tree grove, and there was a gravel path, windy path. I'm nobody, but I'll say I'm an orb, if you can best way to describe it, or because again, senses were full 360. I have everything around me, everything encompasses me. Here I was, just going down this path. And then as I come out of this path, lo and behold, I'm coming on the side of a mountain. I'm go out to this mountain ledge, and I am looking out over a mountain valley that was Earth-like, but it wasn't Earth. It was way more vibrant. Way, the colors, the smells, the senses, everything was coming through. I mean, I was looking like in Star Wars to see if I was going to see a double sun or something like that, but it was just amazing. Now, being a hang glider pilot originally, I'm used to being up on ledges, so it was a calm thing. I call that's where I go for my peace. So who knows, part of the reason why I went up there. But anyways, I looked down into this mountain valley. It was a three-tiered valley. On the bottom lower side, I would say were others. So I'm going to say were human, but other part I'll just say is others. Some of them were doing certain things. Some were, I don't know, practicing combat. Other people were doing other things. Just people were just playing games. Who knows what they were just, everyone, there was thousands of them. Now on this next tier was the most gorgeous golden rectangle portal. Yes, a portal. Some people might call it Stargate, for example. But here this thing was. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And I after this event, I happened to be watching Vikings. If you ever seen on TV, Discovery Channel, and lo and behold, there it was. I was freaking out because I'm seeing pictures. I mean, my back chills were going off seeing this picture. I jumped up and took a couple shots of this thing. Couldn't believe it. But anyway, on the third tier coming up was what I would say an ethereal jeweled marbled halls. I mean, full marble columns. It looked like the Greek or Roman, the Parthenon is the best way I can describe it. Just glittering, jeweled gems all over the place on it, and just absolutely gorgeous. But it was put up above more. It wasn't necessarily on the tier. It was like hovering above it. And all throughout this valley is the most luscious green fields. And I found myself, we call a sled ride as a hang glider pilot. We just gliding down towards the fields in between, I'd say, where the portal was and the jeweled marbled halls. And I go down there and I'm amongst the grass. And if anyone's ever seen the movie Avatar, for example, at the end of the original one, where Grace, one of the avatars, the grass wrapped around into and encompassed her. That's what happened to me. The love or the energies coming from the grass connected into me, and I felt like a recharge, a reboot was happening. And the love, oh my goodness, the love. As they all say, it's hard to describe. I mean, the best way I call it the liquid love. It coats you. It has weight. It has texture. You felt it wrapping around you and just coming from everything. And again, part of that recharge, that reboot. And I was looking through the grass, and I was actually looking in and seeing the cells moving around in the grass at a microcellular level, seeing all the juices inside moving around all the little parts. And again, I was there. I can't tell you how long I was there. I could have been there for years. I could have been there, could have been 5 minutes. But I was just feeling like I was being recharged. And there's this energy, everything I've gone through, something was going on. But that's at the same point when I started to feel, I don't know if I should be here. What's going on? Why am I here? I'm already, no, I'm in extreme bliss. I'm in absolute sheer bliss. This is coming from a guy who's, used to working with chains every day, grunting around the work in the docks and, doing all things and a lot of other adventures that I've had and, rough and tough, and here to talk about this love and this light and this feeling and, how I come about this, from just doing hard labor to all of a sudden the most blissful thing in my life experience. But then this silver mist comes through the grass and through the field. And out of this mist forms these 7 light beings of the most brilliant, brightest, bluish white light. Human form, but more spindly. Tall, like around 7 feet plus. The tallest probably about 7'6". And they surround me. And I can't say we had physical talking conversation, but it was more of a mental type talk. And I can't fully come back of what we talked about. It's more of what has happened afterwards that I've experienced, sort of what recollection I remember, like this is what I talked about with them. Some people have called them the ancients. Some people have called them the shiny ones, the Elohim, might be the Qumras. These are names come to some people, might jog their minds, or the Pleiadians or whatever they are. But there was just, an elegance about the beautiful, beyond words, comprehension, the power that was radiating off of them. Again, the love from them coming through. And then there was a point where all of a sudden it felt like I was put into a gun chamber. Or a little, like I was locked up, like going to be like in a torpedo room. Into a small straw. And I was looking at, like, imagine the barrel being my feet area. And I am flipped around though and looking back up as like if someone's putting a bullet in. I'm the person that was putting the bullet in is what I was looking at them. I'm seeing these beings looking in at me, all the love and what they're looking at me, and I'm going, what? I'm leaving this place. I'm in the bliss. Oh no, oh no. Also, and I'm shot down this rainbow vortex tube. Some people call it the Rosenstein Bridge, possibly, or the Rainbow Bridge. Well, I'm going down this thing. I'm going down like a sled, just sliding down. Still no body. Again, imagine orb going down. If you've ever seen Thor, Marvel movies, you might have seen where they're in this tube going up and down. That's what I'm in, and I am roller coasting down. And I can't tell you how long I fell or slid down this thing. But as I looked up, I could still at times see that single tallest being looking down at me. And as I continue to go down and down and down, all of a sudden I could feel my right eye, what I consider my right, start to close up. And I started to feel this most tremendous pain I've ever felt experience. If you can imagine every single tooth in your mouth having the worst tooth pain in the world going off at the same time. The tremendous pain coming down through. Oh my God, the pain. And then I fuse into this meat sack once again. Meat suit, what do you want to call it? I went from a place where there's no weight, no feeling, just the moment of freedom and bliss, back into this high, heavy density, weightful body. Almost like, again, being like the Atlas holding up the world again. And we are much bigger than ourselves outside of this piece. So again, it's not when it's like awakening from a dream. It was the most disturbing transformation fusion into where at once just sliding in into this body. And then as my vision started to clear up, I started seeing the faces of all my work members and other people standing around me. I recognize that I'm in the office. They're all screaming, "He's alive! He's alive!" They're freaking out. Lo and behold, I had found out later that I was discovered on the barge. They had brought over a large flat. It looks like, you'd see in the back of a semi truck in a way. They brought over a big loader and lowered this thing down, and my friends put my body onto the steel barge. 911 had never been called. No ambulance had been called. My buddy said, "You were dead. No heart, no breathing. You were dead." And again, I'm coming to and I can't see out of my right eye. I could feel stuff coming out of my nose. I could feel stuff coming out of my ear side here, my face, out of my ear. And they're all freaking out. And again, all of a sudden they pick me up. Dead weight. I'm 260 at this time. And I feel the most excruciating pain coming from my left shoulder. Screaming up here, but they're picking up and carrying me. And then they bring me down to a car that had been brought up by the door. And the manager of the area came in and they put me into the car. And as he's coming around to go in the driver's seat, I happen to look at my watch on my left side. It's 1:35. I had no medical resuscitation. I had nothing that pumped my heart up or woke me up. I was sent back. Some people, again, call it an absolute miracle. And that, again, I'm just here and how I can speak, talk. I should be brain dead. First of all, I should have been in an ambulance going somewhere, but I was, to them, why call? He was gone. Blood poured all over the floor, everything else. I'm still bleeding. And I'm looking at this watch, and all of a sudden, again, blood's pouring out of my nose. I mean, I could have died on the travel to the hospital, but they drove me up to a local hospital. I didn't have the care of being able to be dropped off at the emergency room. We actually were ended up in the regular parking lot. And I had the strength enough somehow to walk in with the manager and walk in and find the emergency area. Sat down in a chair, and he basically threw the company insurance card on the desk and said, "Okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to go back and finish the job."
Wow.
Yeah, more like to cover up the everything would happen, who knows what. And I'm sure he was scared to death. I mean, just actually freaked out. I know he later made a comment to my wife the next day when she went to pick up my vehicle that he's like, he never knew what shock was or could have been. That's how he explained it. But all of a sudden, I just remember the onrush of the medical team there in the emergency room just coming into me, immediately wrapped the thing collar around my neck, grabbed and helped me walk over and started putting me into machines and doing all their testing. And I remember them holding all sheets and picking me up, and I just still remember my left shoulder just absolutely screaming.
Mm.
That this was incredibly painful. They were all focused on this, and it was bad, very bad. But my left shoulder, they and there are parts again going through, and they're picking me up and do scans and screaming, and they started giving me a little bit of drug pains and stuff like that. And I just happened to call. No one called any emergency contact either, so I could have just
Wow.
disappeared. Who knows? But I happened to get my wife, or she showed up later. But I was able to get a nurse to help call her, and she miraculously happened. She never answers the phone, especially a number that's way up by Seattle. I mean, we're down about 40 miles south of Seattle, so she would never reach it. But she happened to pick it up that day and recognize me, and it took her, about an hour to get up there. But at this time, they had determined that I had, a bad brain bleed, and I was more beyond their care. So they put me into an ambulance and then brought me up to Harborview Medical Center, which is a very large hospital in downtown Seattle. So let me grab a sip quick. And so I get up there, and again, more tests, more scans, trying to figure out what they are. And again, no one's asking me fully what happened in the accident or anything else, but they're all worried just about my face. And this was, again, full moon type effect. There wasn't even a room available. I was shoved into a corner type space with a little bit of a screen. And again, they're just doing more tests on me, tried to clean me up as best they could, but they couldn't do much to my face initially at the time. Just more to see how I'd go. And, you know, as I'm laying there, all these teams are coming through, and I still remember one nurse coming through. Man, you are a badass. How are you not crying? How are you not doing this pain? How can you sustain this pain level? And he knew I was hurting. But at the same time, how do you tell them that I was still connected to that love? It was just absolute peace. I mean, it was you're still that feel like I always say that connection. And that connection later said to me always an interesting thing. And I'll go into another story on this later on. But it's where, again, constantly coming through, how are you dealing with this pain? I'm taking 1/3 of the pain medication I should for a person at my level. They had brought a woman in to the same area where unfortunately her husband or boyfriend happened to beat her and had taken a baseball bat to her face. And she was near me and she was wailing and crying, and I can understand her pain. And they were trying to calm her down and said, man, please, as much as you can, please be quiet. There's a gentleman next to you that's 10 times worse. Someone face trauma. And so of course I'm hearing this, going, holy cow, okay. You know, but again, I'm still as concentrated on that bliss and where I'd been and what had happened, and still trying to realize, was it a dream? Was it real? Was it a dream? Was it real? All these things going on in my mind and dealing at the same time with this incredible pain. I was then released for a long, long time, and they would be then doing, within a week, I'd be having an operation in my face. So I was sent home, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever. And I was put in to stay on a I'm trying to sort of brain bleed. Sorry, here type chair and a recliner, and I would be there, initially for initial 6 months. I would after a week, I had my facial surgery. I would had 5 plates of titanium. They pulled out this section of my eye here. They actually cut underneath my lip and inserted 5 plates of titanium. So I am the Terminator basically underneath my face here. They did do a great job on my face. They definitely did some improvements. So we're happy on that part. But, it just felt forever the stinging. And I unfortunately, at the same, couple days later, I had, again, this throws a different sense of awareness of your body. And I discovered before the doctors did that I actually had developed an infection where after they did my facial stuff, that somehow, because again, a lot of the facial reconstruction also deals with burn victims, I had contracted a virus or a bacteria from the burn unit area that got into my face. And so my face started to expand again. So if you can imagine all this pain and suffering here and again, and then the pressure movement started moving up to my eye. I could feel that underneath. And the doctor's like, how did you sense it? How do you know that? And again, how do you tell them that these are things, something else is working with me and letting me know this stuff? Well, they found out, yep, that's true. This is what I had. So they gave me some strong antibiotics, and I was sent home again for 6 months.
Was it MRSA?
No.
Okay.
No. But it's where I'll tell you other things about MRSA later on. But what happened was then I was sent home, and then the initial start of my journey after that was, okay, what happened? And you're sitting there in a recliner, you're just trying to recover again. I am drinking through broth and everything else because they had wired my whole mouth part. That was been for 4 months. My mouth was wired. Everything shoved up into metal going right into my mouth. And again, the pain was still there at times coming through. But again, there's that energy, that's still that connection, that part. And so 6 months went by. And in that time, I'll step out that there was a sense of feeling of energies. light sources, power, energy, just filled the brain. Like I get this pressure point. I would describe where you take two opposing magnets and you push them together. You get that weird rubbery screws push. That's the feelings I get when I get prodded to do something. And at that time, I started going to and watching. YouTube is all I could really see and learn and do things with. And I'm searching that stuff for as much as I could about experiences or death. And again, coming on more about this NDEs and different parts. But it was this big thing about energy and like working with crystals. So I found about this one thing about making what's called organites. If anyone's heard about that, it's where you take crystal and you put in a resin and it forms, and there's certain energies that people that become crystal sensitive or parts to energies have that. Well, most people who get and start making these things start out with pyramids, basic forms. Oh no, I came up and started making skulls, and you can see the crystals. There's labradorite in the face and the mouth. There's metals that intercrove this, and they put off an energy and a healing. Because a lot of people always ask me, well, after this experience, or they talk about NDEs, that do we have healing effects, or do we have other things that we affect people? And that's right out of the drawing of that healing energies. And I worked with crystals a little bit in the past, but not to the sense where I became like a crystal pharmacist, and I started encountering people that had other problems and pains and had other traumas. And I started making these things and gifting them to these people. I've gifted them around part of the world. And I started watching my bank account going down, but I thought I had to give. I had to give back. Somehow, some way I had to help. And I've heard from the stories of the recipients that I call them the keepers. And I've had like little girls. There's one who had, she suffered from where she would literally pass out due to stress or anything else, and she had a special dog. They'll let them know that she might be fainting here soon or whatever and stuff. She got a hold of one of these things. She never had problems. They eventually got rid of the dog part because she didn't have any issues anymore with these pieces. And that's one of countless stories that I've had when I made for these people. But at the same time, I felt that I was starting to drain my body. My life force energy, if you take it, was starting to be drained away. Everything that I had been charged with on the other side was starting to drain. But then I'd come up to the 6-month mark and I asked, hey, can I finally lay down? Get out of this recliner. They said, yes, your face should have been recovered by this time and everything else. And they had removed, I had already had surgery to remove the metal wiring from my face. So I proceeded to lay down. Well, the left pectoral major of my pec, little did we know, had been severed. And through this whole 6 months, no one knew about this except for that pain that I experienced all the time. And it rolled up into my throat as I laid down. Talk about flipping me out. Well, the next day I had physical therapy. I drove all the way back up to Seattle and went to my physical therapist and I said, hey, watch this. Holy crap, picked her out, Another week later, I'm back in surgery again. Lo and behold, thank goodness they were to attach me to me. I was very close, but they cannot believe that my body and I had dealt with that trauma, not just of the face, but now they're all freaking out that I had this as well. And besides, my broken ribs and other parts of my body that had been, again, imprinted with this ladder, because I am basically also a human barometer where I can feel within hours, I know when the weather's changing. I can feel that pain. I can feel the imprint of that ladder on my face and on my chest and everywhere down. And so through this experience then, it led to now another parts of, took another 1.5 years of recovery of my left pectoral major to be reattached, and then to eventually have a shoulder replacement. But here's the other weird things that started to happen again through this process. I want to bring now into how things happened afterwards, that what I saw there in the NDE has transferred now into the physical side. I started at the same time as I'm watching these YouTube videos and things, just like I saw when I told you about that golden portal I saw in Vikings. Things started to show up in the physical side that I saw in the other side. Also meeting and talking with other NDEers that have experienced the ancient ones, that library of ancient knowledge, or else, or the halls of knowledge, where people talk about they're seeing it. I know several of the other interviewers have talked about this building before, but it's where all these things started happening, where I'm like, I had never been attached to this stuff. I happened to watch the movie The Knowing. If anyone has seen that movie, Nicolas Cage, at the very end, how these beings all of a sudden transferred into these light beings, and were taking his child and stuff up to this craft because the world was ready to end. But anyway, that's the closest. If people are trying to get an idea for it, check out that out. But all these things started to happen, and you're taking things as they are every day. You're trying to live day to day, and as you can see, I've been through what they call the dark side of the soul. I was at the times I was still smoking. I was 2 packs a day. I was throwing out to the world, why did this happen to me? I mean, I used to be an Alaskan fishing guide, fly fishing guide in Bristol Bay, Alaska. I faced down brown bears. I would put my life on the line in front of other people as a brown bear is coming in and charging us. I had no fear of that. I'd put myself in danger all the time and helping other people. I then left that as life changes and became got in with Cabela's, and which is a large retail store, and I worked my way up from little nobody back in Wisconsin to where I left. I used to live in here in Washington, and I left because I was working for the lodge. I went back, got in with Cabela's. 10 months later, I was back out here in Washington again, within 50 miles of where I lived before. And again, weird things like this started happening more. But for 8 years, I was working retail and dealing with people and stuff, helping people, doing all the things. And again, why? I did all these things were helping people. I had all this stress, but my job was always taking care of my own employees and the other customers. Why did this stuff happen to me? And so you go through this process, and it wasn't easy. And I can tell people the happy, happy, joy is a vibration, love, and peace. But at the same time, I'm a realist. It was painful. It hurt. And I know a lot of people are watching these NDE videos probably just because they want to understand that is there something more through this pain? But I can tell you there is. And Lord, did I not know that this was eventually going to be a benefit. This happened for a reason. I had to go with this pain. Now, I've been going up there all the way to Seattle all the time, and it wasn't safe, I would say, as much. So they definitely wanted me to also go someplace closer for physical therapy after my shoulder operation. Now, my arm for 2 years, because it was locked right here, basically became locked from my chest, wouldn't leave. So the insurance company gave me a list of several places to check out for to get fixed up. So I went to the first place. It was a beautiful, nice Wednesday morning. It had been around 10 o'clock. So people should have been around. No one was there at the first place I stopped. I'm like, this is weird. But I had this weird feeling that the next place is where I need to go. And I went up, and it was near a local hospital where my daughter had been born. And there's a couple buildings, and I drove up there, and I went into found the place, went in, and it's like you just turned the key. Everything worked out with the doctors and how they explain stuff. They happen to have a warm water pool. What chiropractic or physical therapists have a big Olympic size almost pool, heated, everything else, that it would allow me to relax and release that arm pressure to come through. Everything worked out. But here's how things work out, and that if you're being guided. There's 2 buildings, ours there. And the name of the buildings, when I walked out, I almost fell over. I have a very rare last name. It's originally from Germany, Rieder. And it's I-E, not E-I. A lot of people in America like to change around. I'm a writer. No, I'm a reader. But I look at the buildings, and it's Rieder Building 1 and Rieder Building 2. Now, my little family side is originally from Wisconsin. And the rest are, again, from Germany, Austria area. Lo and behold, they're my relatives who own this property. From Germany, they came over. Their son, who's 40-year-olds, who managed the properties, him and I looked like twins. So we went back through the connections on the piece, and yep, they're my relatives. How does that work? How does this in the small world? It happened. So it showed that I was being taken care of. Same thing for my attorney. I went through for the longest period of time trying to find an attorney for dealing with this issues and the concerns. And I didn't realize how tough it was because it's maritime, first of all, but that it was a very selective part for doing with longshoreman work. Now, how this also worked out is weird was that one day, I mean, I've been looking for a long time and they said they can't do it. They just can't do it. I'm like, why? There's no one there. Well, my wife's aunt called. She was I forget the term, but she works for an attorney, and he deals with working with sailors. Now I'm like, okay, this is too freaky, weird of a situation. But the funny thing is, he could not do my case. Yes, I had something in the case, but he could not work my case because he deals with sailors. Even though I was actually a sailor and able-bodied seaman, and in this case, I was acting as a longshoreman, I couldn't do it. But lo and behold, and just previous to this, I had looked over this outfit who talked. They were the super attorneys of this stuff. They were amazing. They, what they've accomplished, that they what was going on. And but then I talked about, well, the one of the two partners, he's in full retirement basically. So I'm like, oh, darn, I was depressed. I was like, this could have been the one. This could have been the place. And it was about a month later that's when my fiance, wife, basically, aunts called me and said this was going on, or say what had happened and told her stuff. Well, lo and behold, that her attorney's roommate in college actually does the stuff with the longshoreman. And lo and behold, he was the second partner in this law firm. So it was meant to be again. So as I keep looking back more and more, I am being guided. I am being protected. I can look back and see I'm not alone in this. And everything I've done before in my life, from taking care of the bears, everything has led me from one thing to another. I've had some of the most amazing dream jobs in the world. I have lived life. I've flown over glaciers, volcanoes, soared with the eagles in a thunderstorm. Actually, yeah, literally in a thunderstorm with the hang glider. That's another near-death story I could tell you about. But it's, I experienced all this stuff, but things are happening. One day I got in, I've been trying to recover my body and starting to do things. I got myself more and more into ornamental trees just to find another way in peace. And so I happened to go down and I found out about some of these composting worms. Okay. But, but I felt that mushy, pushy feel like I got to go do something. I got to do this. So I found this worm farm, drove down there, and I got into the place, and it's real rustic looking, and talked to a couple people. This gentleman came there, and strikingly handsome gentleman came through, but he was just looking at me. He's like, you died. And he comes around over on the counter, comes up over to me, puts his hand on my shoulder. You're connected. Talk about the body chills and the face. What is going on? And I told him, I know I've affected people. I know, like, it's real when we go into places and you hear people that can light up rooms, and other people that you can feel that darkness approach in the rooms. But I just felt like the light was shining around me. And, after I left there, I just was happy and unbelievable joy. It's like, wow. But at the same time, freaked out, going, what the heck? How did he know? How? And then he said that you're connected. Just in my terms, I'm connected. So again, it adds that mystical part of this whole thing, that I'm a part of something, even though I went through this most traumatic effect. I am some part of some divine plan still in this mix. So lo and behold, again, I'm trying to come out of that, still that dark side of the soul part. I can just see the light a little bit coming through, and I happened to come across on my phone these what's called I am affirmations. And I started just doing, I said, okay, I read about how powerful they are. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this stuff. Just start every night. And I started saying these things. And all of a sudden things just started to happen to come out. And I got that pushy squeeze feeling again, like I got to tell my story. And so I initially did a video on YouTube regarding my NDE. And a lot of people responded different back and forth, but this one woman made an effort. She needed to talk to me. She needed to say something. Well, we finally connected, and we talked for almost 2.5 hours. And she talked to me about, have you ever heard of Saint Germain? And I said, I've heard a little bit. I know purple's a thing, or stuff like this, or violet, or whatever else. And I've heard a few things. And well, she said there's a lot more that goes into it. And she told me a little bit more about what the I am discourses. And there's a bunch of books that was written by a guy back in the 1930s by Guy W. Ballard. And in these books, it talks about there's a certain law of life and a lot of things that I was like, okay, I'm originally was Catholic and I've been through, a lot of stuff religious, but at the same time, I lived in nature. Nature was always my church. I've seen life and death daily. I mean, I've witnessed bears decapitating a moose, killing calves right in front of me. I've seen wolves tear apart caribou. To me, unfortunately, me taking the life of all the fish that a lot of my clients I dispatched and, served up. So I've seen life and death. But I got into, reading some of these books, but here's the weird thing. I'm reading stuff in these books that I witnessed in my NDE. Things will start rising from the pages, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, wow. And again, it's just more of connections. And in these books, there was an ethereal picture of beloved Saint Germain. The guy that came up to me and told me I was dead and touched my chest and told me I was connected was a dead ringer for the ethereal Saint Germain. Talk about absolute chills. Talk about holy cow. And it's just like it came back to me just like instantly. You can feel that part. And also like the connections on the other side. And it talked about again these buildings and certain things and the ancient, all this other stuff in these books. I'm like, holy cow. But so I've just put more of this life and read in these practices and teachings. And, I'm just telling you people that everyone has a choice of what they want to go to, but it's, the I am discourses. You might have heard of them before, but the power of the I am, it talks about where there's an individualized God presence within, and that's our I am presence. But I can tell you that just by working on these things for the last almost 2.5 years, my life has changed out of it. I instantly, after reading these books, I stopped smoking. Things started happening in my life again, where before I had lost everything. And when I was talking about when I was doing those organites, at the very end of making these organite pieces, I was putting the energy into these pieces. I was starting to develop nosebleeds. Every time I do one, I'd develop a nosebleed where I'd get the energy was pouring out, my life source was flowing out. But in through these teachings and working with the I am as part, I was actually bringing my life force back. I had more energy, more things. When I could barely get out of bed, now I'm walking up to 4 miles a day. But the biggest thing these teachings in our parts have been is just take care of others, service to others, and to know that through all this changes and all these pains and sufferings that we go through, this life may be a school, it may be whatever it is for every other different people, but we are here to help others. There's service to self and there's service to others. And the biggest thing that I can think about is even through this pain, how I relieve this pain was service to others. I was trying to find a way to be there for other people. That gave me the joy and love in my heart. And through this, and through a lot of these teachings, I started having things coming to me of how to heal myself, bringing the light back into the body through nutrition, where I start getting off of the drugs from all the stuff that I've been put on. I unfortunately, after my pectoral major surgery, lo and behold, that I wasn't moving around, I developed diabetes. So just one more thing in there to, try and pound me down. But it's where, through calling out to our divine source, my I am presence is how I say it. Some people call it God, to Jesus, whatever, that life came back. And I started focusing on my feelings, where instead of that hate and pain, because I had a lot of hate and pain in myself, but I was basically manifesting it in through. And I later found out that whatever you send out comes back, and it comes back with energy, and you have to be aware of that. And there was times where I went through even more pain and suffering, because that whatever I sent out for that being unforgiven and stuff, part of things came back and spanked me. But now as folks, where I try and calm throughout the day, I keep my feelings calm. I try and find a way, no matter what's going on in the world, I am in the world, but I am not of the world. I am, focused on joy, love, peace, and bliss for myself, but also to others. And by giving love and affection to other people, that part of that comes back to me. And that's what puts more life back into me. And so it's really been, a struggle. And again, the pain, I still wake up at times where I still have some neuropathy left in my feet. But I'm going to go into another cool thing about that is my feet had started to swell in the process. And one day I go to this place, and I do my walks in this one special park, and these gigantic Douglas firs, 300-foot trees. It feels like you're walking through the redwoods in this part. And it's where I would get my peace, my back to nature, and just feel, again, that recharge, connecting to nature. I trust me. I hear this big burly guy coming up and hogging a tree. I'm feeling the energies from these trees, and again, the nature just recharging. One day, give another example about how this all works out. I'm walking this path, and this little girl, this last spring, she comes up to me, and her husband's far behind. She's skipping up ahead of me, and she comes up, she raises her hand to me, and she drops a dandelion head in my hand. Now, the interesting part with this, she then says, "My name is Aurora. I am a girl." And her dad comes up and says, "I'm so sorry." I said, "No, sir. I understand there's a message here somehow. Trust me, I know. And thank you, Aurora. Thank you so much for this whole thing." And so we proceeded on. That evening, a buddy of mine sends me a video picture of the Aurora Borealis that was happening over in Montana in the picture shot. And it was the most brilliant violet color. Now, I happen to be taking a shower, and this, I'm still not aware of them, putting the two and two connections together. But I'm in the shower, and I'm going through Aurora. And then all of a sudden, wait a second, Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. And I go back into my body, and I'm like, holy cow, the auroras. And then it's violet. And she said, "I am." And then it goes back, holy cow, there's the thing of Saint Germain. Like, triggers, my whole body again chills, and I'm just crying. I am sobbing in, in the bathroom, just crying my head off. And it's just like, holy cow, again, that I'm still being watched over. Well, lo and behold, come to find out, dandelion is a diuretic, and it has healing properties. And my feet that had been swelling from the neuropathy, or I forget what's called, where the feet are swelling, went away. It's gone. I no longer have swelling in my feet. So it was another sign or another thing from heaven that I'm being watched over. I was given something to heal me. And so now I've told that to others, as well as other healing things, and in other ways of how to heal people. We can heal ourselves. We can take care of others. But it's up to us to keep pushing forward, but to do it right. And a lot of people, when they say, "I am blank hurt, I am blank, sick," I won't pull the two words together. Be very careful of how you use the words "I am." If you use it in a negative connotation, it will become you. So if you're feeling bad or anything else, please do not ever say those two words. But if you want, it's a double-edged sword. But if you want to use things to be positive, use those 2 words and think, I am light, I am happiness, I am here to help the world. Those things come through using those I am affirmations like that. Amazing what your life might be. So through all this and all these changes that I've experienced, I can consolidate all again. Just be loved to your others people. Share your experiences, share your times. Those who may have been holding out to not sharing their experiences or NDE, their death experience, I know you're out there. Find a way to be open. Maybe this is your time to share. To the people that are worried right now that this world is upside down, that things are being exposed, that had been around the whole time, but you have just not been made aware of it. This great awakening that has been happening. Know and feel my love through me and through others who share their experiences. We are sharing our love to you to show you that there is comfort, that we do go on. We are more than you can ever imagine what we are inside of us. This little body, this human meat suit is nothing still. It's just a part of us. It's still part of light. We are light. Our cells hold that part, but you know, we get drawn to things like I'm still drawn to crystals and energies and our parts around me. And there's reason I happen to go, I get that push pull, and there's always a reason for something. There's a reason the day you're watching this video. There's a reason the day to go forward, to take another step forward tomorrow. No matter what you've been through, take it from a guy who's been literally had the most magical days of his life to being bloodying up at bottom of a metal floor of a barge, to be thought as dead, to all of a sudden somehow miraculously come back to be where I am today. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I still have brain bleed. I still can't remember things. I have a legal thing I can tell my wife. Yeah, I can't remember for some reasons. But no matter what we've been through, we're here. And you just got to keep pushing forward. And yes, there's pain, but we're like a sword. We're paying down, we're banged down, we're shocked when we're put in the water, we're been trial and error, but through it all, we're being refined. We're refined for something. We may not know the divine will, what's happening, what's for us, but we are here now for a reason. We've been brought here on earth for a reason. And even though, take the selfish way out where so many people have are worried that life is too much. Take it day by day, but know that there's simple miracles. If you literally are willing to look back on your life, how you went from one thing to another, and yes, we've all still had issues and trials, how those trials have refined us and given us strength to go to the next part. You know, I'm going to have on the 23rd, my 11th root canal. I've been losing my teeth, but I'm past the point where insurance won't cover it anymore, but certain things that I've still been taking care of. Magically, other things have happened, that funds have come in that I'm able to take care of myself. So again, if you put faith into it, whatever you put your attention upon, that's what you become. And I've come out of that dark hole. I've come out of that dark end of the soul onto the light and talk to you straight. Again, here's this big bear type guy that has, been through some most tremendous stuff, but I am telling you from heart and the love and that love that I felt on the other side, that pure liquid love made and coat you and give you strength and keep going on. And that's all we can do. So if you got any more questions, let me know.
The brain bleed. What's up with that?
Well, again, it's where after the accident and stuff, where on the frontal lobe, I'm still actually gonna be going in for another evaluation here soon. Got another referral finally came through. Just again, loss of memory, or again, I was smashed in. I have a lot of memory loss, short-term memory. I unfortunately, I finally have gained full movement in my left arm after all these surgeries and stuff, again, after 2 years, but I don't have the strength and something in my system, my brain, that I cannot lift. I have not regained strength to move a half gallon of milk past my belly button. So still something's happening. And I know as I've gone through these last several years that I have lost more and more of retaining my memory. I mean, whenever I go walking, I walk like I'm drunk. But hey, I'm on, if anyone knows Mount Rainier, I mean, I've worked hard where I could barely get out of bed to now where just this last fall I was able to climb up part of Mount Rainier. Yeah, I walked up there drunk. Took a long time, but gosh darn it, I made it up there where before I didn't have the strength. But so I know there's things that are still affecting my brain, and it's not easy. And again, you got to be humble. I mean, I've been a top executive. I've worked for a multi-billion-dollar company. My job was to analyze and monitor the assortments and to future forecast things and use a lot of brain power. I just don't have that now. I can hardly read a couple pages in a book sometimes when I just got to sit down. I can't read any further. So it's taken me a long time even to read these books or do things where before you took it for granted. You really can't anymore. And so that's one thing I don't know what I still can do. I mean, I've been basically put into retirement basically for these last 5, almost going on 6 years. People complained about, uh, COVID and other stuff. Well, you've been locked up for a year and a half, 2 years. I've been locked up for 2 or 3 years prior to people going already through that, plus going through that part. So I understand where you're at. What we've all experienced, and it was more of an awakening for a lot of people of what we are, what we're got to go through. But through this thing, I've also been given a lot of discernment and divinely discernment where I've been seeing a lot of things. And again, from my previous life is what I did as a high level. I could see a lot of things or put things 2 and 3 things together. I've been shown stuff, divinely wise, what's going on. And as I've been slowly breaking it down and also shown things, so there's, again, like I said, there's a reason. I don't know what was for my life ahead. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do here in the future. I don't know if I can fully go back to work or if I'm just going to be put on permanent disability. But I know one thing's for sure, that I am here to tell people what I've experienced and how, no matter how trying it is, I'm still pushing forward. I am not gonna sit and bathe in sympathy, which again, I don't want human sympathy. I would prefer to say divine compassion versus sympathy. Sympathy is a negative to me, and it's negative and it affects your energy. Divine compassion is a totally different story and it works with your light and your source energy from you. And again, the more people understand how this energy and how we affect things. Again, I'm like a lot of NDErs. I can't wear watches. I destroy watches. I have to charge my cell phone 2 to 3 times a day, even when it's brand new, because I will suck the energy out of that phone. I affect electronics. I affect certain things. When I go in a room, people all turn and face me. They know I'm there. I have a presence. My light is bright, and through all this. And people just say, there's something about you. You're magnet. I have a lot of people say, you're magnetic. We attract to you. And I know through a lot of these teachings, there's a reason why that happens. But it's where we go through these trials and things we learn in life is to increase our light. And sometimes, and again, I'm a full believer in re-embodiment, reincarnation, because many people had to go through many trials of increasing our light. And the things that are happening in this world right now, more light is needed. And the more things that we can do to increase and expand our light, to push away the darkness things that are going on. This may be a school, but we have to work together and sometimes get together and fix things to make things better and to learn as a group, sometimes as a group consciousness, that we can change the world. We can change a lot of things. But we got to know that we got to be here in the present and to put our attention to it. Even though sometimes I'm losing my attention because I just can't remember or the mental structure, but then there's other times where I get a recharging and a reboot. When I go to the mountains and I feel that the energy flowing through the mountains and through the air, where a lot of people saying they think when they go to the mountains, they get a recharge. They can do things that they can't do down at ground, sea level. But we bring back that energy back to the people who need it down here, that we are mighty pillars of light, that our light it affects people. And I always look and say, I am affecting people 1,000 feet, 1,000 yards, 1,000 miles around me, and I believe that. But again, we're here. I'm now through you, might be reaching out to thousands and thousands of people who need this message, who are looking for something else. And again, through all these struggles. And yes, there's more to come, but not to focus on that. Focus on where you've been. Look back to what you've done, what you've been through, and just start seeing those stepping stones that have led you to today, that have made you stronger to survive this part. That you would, if I was taking you back 10 years ago, you would not have survived, but you went through it back then to survive it now. And we just have to keep taking those stepping stones. Again, no matter how the world pounds you down into the ground, or might have destroyed things where I was gifted to give my eye back after being destroyed around here, my shoulder. I'm been able to do other things where I could have laid in that thing and wilted away. But I know that I've been given the strength in the past, to do things. I've walked off cliffs and flown and lifted up into a hang glider, flown around with eagles. And if you get another time, I'll tell you that quick thing about the hang gliding. We were doing a thing in the spring for a large fly off, and there was a lot of people around. We're next to a large reservoir where this mountain is, and down below us is all the water, big lake. And six of us got off that morning, and we're flying the left side of the mountain. Gorgeous, beautiful morning, just that warm air. It was smooth air, just flying around with the eagles that fly around us. But as we come around the mountainside, all of a sudden we freak out, because in our landing zone was a cloud that had been brought in and started to overdevelop into a thunderstorm. Three of us go down. They go down into the thunderstorm and land in the hail into the landing zone. The rest of us are flying over this lake, headed to a 7,000-foot mountain on their side, because we were being cloud sucked up into this thunderstorm. There's one guy way ahead of me. I'm the second highest, and there's one guy who landed down onto an island in the middle of the lake. And I am being sucked up and sucked up and sucked up. And I am being a good Catholic at the time, going, oh my, our Father's, Hail Marys, everything. I am calling out to God. God save me, because I look up and I'm seeing the swirls of the clouds around me, and I'm in amongst the clouds. Lightning is all over me. I am holding aircraft aluminum on that hang glider. I am feeling the shock waves of the thunder going through. But yet at the same time, I look down and all there is water. I have a knife that's about ready to cut the cord from the hang glider, because if I go up and I get up there, I might get rim ice that wraps around my body and I become frozen. I could be sucked up to 12, 20,000 feet. And I'm getting ready to cut that cord. And all of a sudden, it was like a release. It was like a knowing. Everyone knows an F-14 Tomcat is how its wings go back and close up and down. Well, I have a cord that's on my glider. I pulled it, and my wings go super tight. No more lift, but it's not. It's more efficient lift, but it's speed and just going through. And I am being bucketed. I'm going down. I'm got the bar in between my knees, and I am pulling in with all my pressure in my chest, like a dive bomb, trying to get out of that lift band. I'm just being sucked up, and I'm almost like a vertical. And I get out of that thunderstorm, and I'm headed back to the mountain where I launched off. But at the same time, we call it what's called a tollable flush. That's where we're getting slammed by the downdrafts. And I start getting slammed down, down, and down. I'm partially over still this lake, so it's not a very good feeling. But I get around almost to the mountain, but I can't make it over the mountain to the landing zone. Still downdrafts on there, but I started pulling in tight again, got some more speed, and was able to land on 2 feet in a stump field from these gigantic old growth stump fields that was cut long ago to make this boat ramp. And I got down and landed on my own 2 feet. And I could still feel the electricity off the glider where I got away. And I got yelled at almost from my friends later on, because we thought something happened to you, that why didn't you move? Well, I had to get away from the glider. It felt like I was going to get a lightning strike. But they later came down and picked me up, and I was brought back to the landing zone. Now this storm had moved away. It's darkest, black, nasty storm going up into the mountains. But then it happened. The most gorgeous double rainbow came in front. And that has always been assigned to me, that double rainbow, that I get through everything. And from that, the weird thing is, my career exploded shortly after that when I was working for Cabela's, for example. Going from a sales manager to a senior manager of another stores, the largest store opening in company history. All these things happen. And the funny thing is, even when I was doing stuff, I was getting set up to open this next store. Everyone else had been left and sent to other stores. I was the only one, because I've been with the company for a while. But I got this pressure and this feeling that I had to do stuff to certain products to order, and quantities, numbers started coming into my mind to do this stuff. And I called it my masters. Now, when I look back, when I talk about Saint Germain, it's also part of the Ascended Masters. And it's like, holy cow, I've been affected to this even before all this stuff. It's like, again, you track all this. How did I have all these accomplishments? And you go, this is all from the Ascended Masters, or these beings were watching over me from Jesus on, and so on. And then even through this accident, this was meant to happen for a reason. And so again, just when I come out to you, even when you're at that last moment, when you're ready to cut that cord, and you're just, I would most likely would have drowned if I would have cut that cord, or I could still have been sucked up in and still done the way, but God caught me out of it. So no matter where you are, if you're ready to cut that cord, put it down, keep going, keep charging forward, because there's been miracles that you're not even aware of that have happened to you, and take it from there. Any other questions I can answer? Go off real quick.
No. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It seems like we don't see connect the dots until we get older to see the miracles that saved us. It's
Yep.
like we're too young, we're too egotistical, we're in a hurry. I don't know. It's like we don't see it.
Well, and right now is where, I look back and going, yes, that was the worst thing. I missed the sea. I was about ready to come, working towards my mate. I had spent after I left Cabela's, I had, trying what I was going to do. And so I had all that sea time from Alaska as a guide, and I put the remaining of my retirement money paying for all my upgrades of my endorsements for my sea time stuff, and supporting a family for 2 years to get the job of my dreams again, to get on that water, to go and do several trips with the tugboat, and then to be put to shore, and then to have this happen. Literally, another quick one with, getting I was out at sea when I found out that we were going to lose our apartment, that it was an additional, they wanted to raise it $400 a month. I'm like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? And I went just like up there when I was playing my hang glider. I immediately just went to God, and said, hey, God. And I talked to him just as he was sitting next to me, which to me, again, I believe it's right here. He's in us. And lo and behold, I finally got back off the Pacific Ocean, got home, and my wife had found a couple places, and we luckily, within 2 days of leaving our apartment, found a place that had a beautiful green belt behind it, that had a shed that we could move all our stuff from our storage unit, that we didn't have to pay money on anymore. And for the last almost 6 years, no rent has been raised. It is the same since. Where everywhere else around us has been raised $600-700, it has stayed the same here. Again, we are taken care of if you put in trust and attention to God, or into however you see it, divine being, universe, whatever. If you put your attention toward it, you will be provided for no matter what. But you have to trust. You have to put that attention through it. And yes, look back and see that you've been supported this whole time. It's when fear gets a hold of us that it takes control. Fear controls you. And I know a lot of people are watching this right now because of the fear they have, the fear of death, the fear of failure, the fear of other things, the fear of humility. I had to be very humble to know where I've come from and what I've done. I've done tremendous, amazing things. I've taken care of celebrities. I've taken care of the common person. I've dealt with things that most people don't get to see or do or dealt with. But, guess what? I've had to put that fear behind me and to step up in the courage and the strength. And at times I've had, yes, I let go. I despaired for a while, but I also put my hands back up and pushed myself back up. And those, again, watching here, you need to put that fear aside, calm your feelings, know that everything is all right. You are being cared for, even though you may not believe this moment, you are. And if I can't push that feeling in my love to you on that part, it's, again, big buffet truly sailor guy. I got tattoos all through here. I've been through it all and I can make force, but you know what? I've got that soft side too, and that love from the other side, knowing that we are more than we can ever imagine. We are
Can
just in
you
this meat suit now.
can you say, did OSHA investigate this? Did they find these
Nope.
from?
No, I have my file is like a couple pages. I unfortunately I'm still been in litigation deal where being because a lot of stuff been around the people that were around there. A lot of people have been left, fired, whatever else, no longer involved. I can't get a hold of the friend I talked to in the past. So again, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm right now just dealing with what I may get for my disability, and that's where these brain evaluations are, is to see what I'm able to do. I know I can't lift anything. I can't do stuff, and my brain capacity, I can't deal with managing 300 people like I used to do. So there's a lot of things that I'm extremely having to be humble upon what I can do. I can't fly anymore. I'm a private pilot. Like I said, I've done amazing things in my life, and I've had a lot of quality. I may not have a lot of quantity in my life in the future. Who knows? But one thing, I'm not afraid to die. I close my eyes right now and I know where I'm going to be, and it's the most blissful pace in the world. So I have no fear of that. Again, like I said, I've faced brown bears. I've flown off cliffs. I've been and experienced things where people only dream about, but also can be the worst nightmare. And that's one thing you gotta take a blessing of, is take stock of what you are and what you've done, and just know that you don't get to see these other things or don't get to experience their joys if you don't push forward. If you stay in that misery, if you stay in that fear, remove the fear. It won't. And once you start doing that, even now, I sit back and do I worry? Do I contemplate? And I contemplate this, but when I go do my walks in that forest, when I had those little things like that little girl come up to me and hand me a dandelion. And just the other day, I had another woman where I got talking to her about her young daughter that had passed. And again, I get this all the time where people just come up to me. They have to tell me their life story. I had this woman come up to me and she, lo and behold, she had lost her daughter's earrings that she had. And she was so sad. She was so depressed for the longest time. And she met me that day in the park just a couple days ago. And we started talking. Um, I told her about my NDE, and she told me she had an out of body experience. I was one of the only ones she's ever told. And she's like, I can't believe I'm telling you this, but I gotta tell you. And I said, your daughter's with you right now. And she said, yeah, she is. 2 days later, her and her husband walking up, and she had their daughter's dog comes through, and um, that's how we got talking. Her daughter's dog rushes up to me again, and just comes to me, and she says, I got a story to tell you. After I talked to you, I went into my car, and my daughter's earring was laying was laying on a napkin in the center console of my car. And it's where things like this happen all the time, where people just come up and they sell this stuff. So it's like you look at going, holy crap, there's a reason why I'm talking to you, and the reason why I'm giving you a call. I said, hey, I want to tell you my story, because who knows who's going to be affected by it. So, it gets to you, but but at the same time, when you keep, again, yes, putting these stories together, all these little things, just know that through this love, somehow it's always going to get better. So at the end, truly, it really is better. Either if we ascend or we, die and just go to heaven, whatever else. Hey, we end up in that beautiful place. It's, again, I can't tell you. It's from other people who've talked about it. I know one of your pupper guys, Vinny, big guy, looks like me too. We talk about it. It's just those different levels and the different things that are out there waiting for us to experience. It's beyond belief for what we have experienced, but what we have forgotten about. And we're just here again, another training session, but there's some things that we are fighting. And there is a negative, sinister force that human creation that we create. And we, again, what we gotta be careful of what we say and what we do, because what we do send out comes back like a boomerang. And our words do a part. We have spells. Whatever we say is like a living flame that comes out. But some things that what we say, you would literally be locked up and put into a sailing asylum if you saw what came out of your mouth. So just be aware of that too. But divine compassion. Don't give sympathy to what's going on with people. Give divine compassion. I am giving divine compassion. I am love. I am light. Look up the I am stuff. If you're interested, I'll give you a link to the decrees on some of the books if you want to be interested into it. Some of these teachings, but it's laws of life. These are universal natural laws.
Did you send me that link?
Yep, I'll send a link, and
Okay.
I'll send you some more pictures of stuff too that I've seen. If you want to post on there somehow, implement into this video, what I saw, because again, they still keep showing up. I still have these things. If another weird one, if anyone's into music, if you know the band Disturbed, if you ever also know the Sound of Silence, well, this band did a cover of the Sound of Silence. Now it's in black and white versus color. But if you put what I've told you and you watch that video, you will see my NDE. You'll witness people that around these band members are coming out of the mist. You'll see a guy walking into a tree grove. You will see stuff. Again, hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to see you again. Well, to me, that's the void. Hello, I'm back. All these things that come through, and it's freaks you out. Again, all this stuff I've seen.
I've listened to that song and made the connections to NDE.
Yep, and and I talked to people that the guy Damon Rieder had an ND or something like that too. So there's so many things that come out. Again, pay attention to the details. But when you come out of that fear position, that's when you're able to finally see a lot of these things that you didn't allow to see because you were too much in fear. And again, when you have a calm feeling, everything else starts to change. When you can have people rushing around you in this and you are strong and steady, it's amazing what you're able to observe. But I'm thankful and blessed with you for allowing me to share this to people, and
thank you, Rodney.
help about this. So no, you're very much welcome.
Okay, all right, thank you. Send me that link and I'll attach it in the description.
I'll send it out to you. All right. Later.
Bye.
Bye.